I spent the last 10 days of 2018 in Bangladesh, engaging Rohingya refugee children in the sustainable development process. Displaced from their homeland and living in unimaginably harsh conditions, none of these children go to school. Surviving on one meal per day, they don't know what tomorrow holds for them. However, their enthusiasm was so evident and knew no bounds as they sang and danced with us as part of our environmental workshops, drawing beautiful images on the chart papers that we had provided them, depicting the planet of their dreams. They pledged to stop using plastics, to use paper bags instead. They were all ears as we explained to them the importance of sanitation and hygiene. Simple things like washing their hands before a meal and disposing waste properly. Together, we planted several saplings amongst the ramshackle temporary shelters that they now call home. I had a similar experience 12 months ago, several thousand miles away, at the border of Lebanon and Syria. There were hundreds of Syrian refugee children there because it was a different place, but the same story of anguish, despair, poverty that engulfed these Syrian refugee children who shivered in the bitter winter because they did not have heating or clean water or sanitation. And for these children, survival was a daily struggle. I had visited the camp to run my 2-day workshop on the importance of environmental conservation. I was nervous about how these children would respond. Yet their enthusiasm for protecting the environment was evident as they eagerly participated and pledged to stop using plastic bags and to start planting trees. Just a year before that, I was in Nepal at the Baby Life Home, which is an orphanage for HIV-positive children. And I encountered the same passion for environmental conservation amongst these children, most of whom only have a few years left to live. They drew up action plans to reduce waste and give up plastics so that future generations would inherit a pristine environment. They did this even though most of them would not live to see the fruits of their labor. This boundless enthusiasm of children from all across the world, be it in a refugee camp in a remote Bangladesh hillside or in Manhattan, is the common thread which I encountered in my journey to empower young people in creating a sustainable future. It all began about 10 years ago when I saw an image of a dead bird, and this bird had its belly full of plastic. As an 8-year-old, I was utterly shocked. I was so moved that I decided to put up posters and talk to my neighbors about the harms of using plastic. Within the first few days of my campaign, I was appalled at the widespread usage of plastic in my community and the apparent apathy of adults to its impacts. It was also around that time that I attended a lecture by the environmentalist Robert Swan, whose words, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it," struck a chord deep in me. I realized then that the apathy of civil society was one of the root causes for our current state of affairs. As I went around the community talking to people to avoid plastic usage, or at the very least, to dispose it properly, I discovered a distinct difference between the response of adults and children. adults tended to be cynical, even dismissive. However, the children were the opposite. They listened with care and were eager to participate. Buoyed by this response, I started reaching out to children in other countries. My work caught the attention of some United Nations entities, and I was invited to attend the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I was only 12, probably the youngest amongst the 50,000 delegates there, a congregation of global decision makers, heads of states, policy shapers, activists, but only a handful of children. It was our future that was being decided, but by others, by adults who probably wouldn't even live through that future. I thought that this was very unfair. We, children and youth, must have the opportunities to decide our own destiny. And that prompted me to found my own youth organization, Green Hope Foundation, to provide young people like me a platform to learn about sustainability challenges and then take ground-level actions, enhance community awareness, and influence decision-making processes that would determine our future well-being. Green Hope's vision is to be a vehicle of change and empowerment for our generation, which I believe is the last one that has the opportunity to take actions to mitigate climate change and stop this environmental degradation before it is too late. With 168 million children worldwide trapped in child labor, the challenges of inclusivity are of calamitous proportions. So at Green Hope Foundation, we use education for sustainable development as a transformative tool to engage and empower all children and youth, especially those who are marginalized, so that together we can create a future, the future we want, one that is just, sustainable, and equitable. Our mission is based on Principle 14A of the Earth Charter, which speaks of providing all, especially children and youth, with educational opportunities that empower them to contribute actively to sustainable development. Turning this mission into a reality, it requires civil society to shake off its apathetic attitude and become more involved in decision-making processes. And this change can only become a reality if there's enhanced awareness. To aid this, I developed an educational tool, an advocacy tool, which I named Environment Academy, which is essentially a workshop organized by children for children. We use art, music, and dance to explain the environmental challenges and goals. And this enables us to transcend language barriers. To date, we have hosted over 150 environment academies in over 25 countries, directly educating over 20,000 youth. And now even adults are starting to pay attention. We are now invited by hotels, construction industries, and a host of other corporates to educate their staff about the inequalities and challenges that ail our society today, and the actions that we, as responsible citizens, must take in order to address these anomalies. Now, the general level of awareness is so low that most of the people who attend our academies don't know that 1 in every 7 people in the world go to bed hungry each night, while ironically, 1/3 of our world's food production goes to waste. They don't know that $4 billion of taxpayers' money are being spent on building a nuclear-armed Trident submarine, while in the developing world, 80,000 children are dying from poverty each day, most of whom could be saved with food or medication costing less than 1/10 of the cost of one Trident submarine. They're shocked when I tell them that we produce 2 million plastic bags every minute, which is adding to the mounting levels of trash that's already choking the life out of our planet. Faced with these numbing statistics, they're jolted out of their stupor and want to take action. So together, we have planted more than 20,000 trees in over 20 countries, recycled over 100 tons of waste, and cleaned up over 100 beaches. For the past 4 years, I have been working on the upliftment of those whom our world seems to have forgotten. These are children who have been driven out of their homes as a consequence of war, climate change, or economic regression. Branded as refugees, these children don't find a place in almost any country's development agenda. I have been working on their empowerment, and Green Hope has been highlighting their plight at all levels, from the portals of the United Nations to taking ground-level actions, providing them with books and solar lamps to drive away the darkness that engulfs their lives. My experiences have led me to believe that children are genuinely shocked at the state of the environment, regardless of whether they live in an affluent city like Toronto or in a refugee camp on no man's land. All children need an access to education, a safe environment, a culture of tolerance, and peace. These 4 ingredients form the catalyst that can enable any child to realize their true latent potential. When I began my journey with Green Hope Foundation with just a handful of friends, I never dreamt that in a short span of 6 years, we would evolve into a multinational social innovation enterprise with over 1,000 youth members working on ground-level projects in 12 countries across the Americas, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent. We still have a lot of ground to cover, and time is not on our side. However, all my team members firmly believe that this is one battle that we cannot and will not lose. The challenges that face us are daunting, but not insurmountable. We will realize our dream of protecting our Earth's vitality, beauty, and diversity for future generations. As Harriet Tubman famously said, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer." Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Thank you.